We've got some fresh
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn more on how to turn that content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Yeah.
What is up, guys? Today, how to increase your sales and make more moo-lah.
Moo-lah, for those who don't know what that is, money, baby. Is the cash, the profit. Yes, and before we get started, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Actually, don't hit it, smash it, so you know when those episodes drop on your phone. And don't forget to follow us on social media at BIZBROS Go.
That is right. And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you will, because our previous conversation was pretty impactful to me. So don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. No less, no more. You can do no more because there's no more than 5 stars. So just a 5-star review. Just drop it in
and let me tell you, man, those reviews have been coming in. So thank you so much for all of you guys listening and submitting your reviews. We might or might not have a surprise for you. So if you hear this episode and want to know what the surprise is, slide into those DMs. I promise that I'm going to send you something special. Slide. So today's guest is a graduate from our Instagram live show, Content Bites. FONZI's project. Here we go. And if you're looking to increase the incoming moolah in your business, then this is the episode for you.
That is right. He is a high performer that helps sales pros increase commission income by 30% in 60 days. That is super impressive. Just throwing that out there.
Baby.
Now, if you sell something, which if you listen to Content is Profit, you probably do, this is for you. Trust me, he doesn't only have an epic beard, he has some epic knowledge as well.
Am I going to feel left out because I don't have a beard? I actually shaved last night, so
You know what's funny? That I had to write down that in the intro.
Good. Okay, well, I'm excited either way. You know, today's guest has helped his clients add 5 figures in commissions, getting promotions, hitting #1 in the regions, and over the top 15 in the world for their company. Cool thing is, what he teaches can be applied to multiple areas of your life. So I hope you are ready to become a high performer.
Yeah, guys. Let's go. Please welcome host of the Results Engine podcast, high performer, and unfortunately, a Liverpool fan, Mr. Mike Szczesniak. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys? What an intro. Let's go. I'm fired up.
Let's do it, man. Dude, I'm sorry I had to include the Liverpool part in there. I'm sorry, okay?
Dude, champion to England. I'm stoked.
There you go, Mike. Hey, I am sorry that he actually had to put unfortunate in there, but you know, you and me, we bonded before the call, and you and me are okay. So this Arsenal fan over here can go sleep now.
You know when your team finishes like 10th in the league, dude, that's what we got. You know, we gotta like put in this little thing is to make us a little happier for the rest of the year until next season starts, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I've been there.
Yeah, dude, Mike, it is a complete honor to have you here, man. I can't wait to deep dive. I know that you were on Content Bites with FONZI here, and for those listening, watching right now, if you guys haven't seen that episode, go check our Instagram live interviews. But for those listening, Mike, who are you, man? Like, what's a little bit of your backstory, and then how do you get to the point that you are now?
Yeah, it's a bit of a loaded question. The Spark Notes, I run a high performance coaching consulting company called the Results Engine. And like you guys mentioned, you know, we work with a lot of commission sales pros, help them scale their income and their impact, right? Figure out what drives revenue, do more of it in a way that feels good. So we're closing more deals without burning the candle at both ends and working crazy hours. And, you know, we've been running that company for about 4 years now, which has been super fun, you know, but prior to that, I was in software engineering. I kind of used corporate America to fund all of my business ventures. And I spent about 6 years in corporate, you know, did kind of hit all the targets that we thought we wanted, right? Like luxury apartment, senior title, 6-figure salary, like all these things that we think we're striving for when I'm a young dude living in Manhattan, right? In New York City. And on the outside, like the progression is very linear. right? Like big pay raise, big promotion every single year. And it looked like I was crushing it, but behind closed doors, the part that people don't see, and I think nowadays we're starting to hear it's a lot more common than we realize, but like everything was in shambles.
Yeah.
You know, like on the outside it was all beautiful, but behind closed doors, I was ridden with anxiety, suffering from debilitating panic attacks, which, by the way, at that point I had zero clue what it was. I legitimately thought I had a physiological issue. Like I thought my lungs didn't work. So I spent a year and a half going to the doctors, getting a chest x-rayed, like doing breathing tests, trying to figure out what was going on. And I share that part of the story because that's what made me realize I had no clue what it meant to be productive.
Yeah. Like
zero idea. I felt like if I wasn't working 47 hours a day, I wasn't being productive enough. Right. And this is what started me going down this rabbit hole. And productivity is just a really small fraction of, you know, all the work that we do with our clients.
Yeah.
About like 20 to 25% probably, if I had to estimate. But it was the part that like got me into the space. It kind of cracked the door open to the coaching industry that I was resisting like crazy at the time. And eventually, you know, many years down the line, I meet Brennan Burchard and door gets cracked through, and here we are.
So Mike, thank you for sharing that first off. And second, like, why do you think you touched on something? You were very resistant on the coaching side of things. Why? Yeah. And that's something that we've, you know, talked on the show before. We've seen the benefits of it. I'm sure like you've seen the benefits of it. But like back then, like, why were you so against that? Why was that a block?
I had a very negative stigma around the industry. You know, back then, and for the record, like one of my closest friends in the world was very much pushing me into the space. Like, dude, you could help a lot of people. You know, like the way that you care for people, the way that you listen, the way that you think, and the way that you support people, you could really help a lot of people. But here's the deal, bro. Like on Instagram, I saw life coach in like 17-year-olds Instagram bios, and I didn't understand what coaching meant. I was coming from the athletic world, right? Like soccer, my whole life revolved around where I could play soccer in college. That's how I ended up in engineering. That's how I ended up down on Wall Street writing code. Like that was the world I came from. And in that world, coaches provided solutions. In the business world, consultants provide solutions. Coaches just navigate conversations and help facilitate breakthrough, right? So when I'm wearing a coaching hat in the high performance side of the business, I'm not solving problems per se. I'm assisting to solve problems, but it's my job not to provide the solution, but to help the client generate that solution, right? And I didn't get that. So I was looking on Instagram, I'm like, what on earth does this 17-year-old possibly have to teach me about life? Because I also didn't know what life coaching was at the time, by the way. But like that was the block. I'm like, nope, I don't want to be associated with this because I don't understand it. And fast forward, like I mentioned, I met Brennan Burchard, and literally I wrote my first program, Fear Hacking Academy, on the flight home from that event. And it was like Ohio to New York. It was like an hour and a half flight. But I was just like thrashing
going at it,
you know?
Amazing.
But that was the stigma that I had.
Dude.
Yeah. I mean, I totally see that happening, especially now you see more and more people, you know, kind of like putting those coaching titles in their Instagram bios, right? And I don't know, in a sense, I do, and this might be one of my, you know, stigmas that I have. I feel like, in a sense, it kind of like devalues the term coach, right? Because then someone, right, that has seen all those, like, wow, why are all these people coaches? Like, everybody's a coach right now, and they might be ready to work with you, right? And they come across you, but they see that you're a coach as well, right? And they're like, oh man, like, he's one of those. Let me turn around. So yeah, I can see, you know, how it can be a downside for people, but I love the soccer reference, man. Anything soccer, I love. So and I totally understand, you know, and looking back into my personal soccer career, right? Like, the best coaches were as well, like, those that guided me through, you know, like those limiting beliefs that I had around the game and around myself too, to achieve what I wanted. So what do you think it is key when looking for the right coach?
That's a really good question. Like, really random tangent that just popped in while you're saying that before I answer that question is, like, there's that cliche, those who can't do teach. Have you ever heard that? And I think that, you know, people apply that all over the place and almost in a way to discredit the coaching industry professionally. But if we look at it, like, the examples is Tim Grover. He wasn't a better basketball player than Michael Jordan, right? But he helped him get to that next level. Same with Kobe, same with Dwayne Wade. And like a lot of my clients, not to compare myself to Tim, like he's elite, but like a lot of my clients have built businesses far bigger than me. And I'm really proud of that because I've helped them scale because they are good at what they do, right? Like I always say, I'm not in the business of how my client makes their money. I'm in the business of helping them figure out how to do more without burning out so they can make more money and have a bigger impact. So I think that's really important to understand. Now, to your question, what is it important to look for in a coach? I think two things. One, track record is very important. And that track record, to that last point that we were just talking about, that might not be in the business coaching space. Yeah, it might be, hey, I've built a 7, 8, 9-figure business, whatever it is. And by the way, this might be a unpopular opinion. I believe business coaching is really consulting. A lot of cases, they just use the term coach a little loosely there, but that's a whole different conversation. But when it comes to, you know, high performance coaching or other different types of coaching, I think that track record then becomes, what's their client results, right? Like, are they getting where they say that they're supposed to get from a client perspective? And I think that's the most important piece. You know, like at the end of the day, that's what we're after. It's like results, right? It's why we call the company the results engine. You know, it's all that we're striving for. But that's the most important piece to me. I always say, like, look for someone who either has done what you want to do or knows the skills and can teach you the skills you know you need to learn to get where you want to go. Right? Those are the two pieces.
I love it. Maybe we're skipping ahead a little bit here with my question, and then you, Fonzi, you can like reel me back if you feel like it. But like for those, like maybe in the audience, right, and the listeners and the people watching on Facebook now live, we have some people that are starting that journey, right? Like they've been successful in their business. They know they can help other people. You know, they can turn around and be like, okay, you're 2-3 steps behind me. I know I can help you. What are some like key things that these people starting out coaching, right, or helping other people, consulting, right, should be very aware to start their successful coaching career or little project? You know, somebody that's starting up, like, what are some things that they should be doing?
Just so I'm clear, do they have a business yet, or are they just starting, like, complete ideation phase?
So I am a good question.
Yeah.
So in this case, let's assume they already have something solid working, you know, generating results, right? Where then they can turn around and do that. And I think we have been in both of those positions.
Are you asking that question for yourself, huh?
We have.
Yeah.
No, but I think you know, lately we've been like, first, yes, 100%, and second, yes, for the audience. So for both, because we experienced where we didn't have anything solid and we're trying to turn around, and that was a complete flop. So for the audience, I save you the time to please don't do that. Make sure you build something first and then go ahead and do it. Right? Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. I love the debate. Let's go.
No, 100%. So here's what I would say. One, if you are still in the ideation phase, keep tasting until you find something that you can generate results, right? Like if you're still, Gary Vee talks about tasting all the time, right? And I think there's a lot to be said for going and exploring what you enjoy. And if you're still thinking about it, like you're probably going to keep thinking about it from a FOMO perspective. So you might as well just go and try something. Now, if you already have results, I think the most important thing is really figuring out what's driving those results, right? Most people think being productive means being busy, having things on a calendar, like checking things off of a to-do list. Mm-hmm. That was me. And frankly, it was a large reason why I was miserable, right? Like why I was so anxiety ridden and why I suffered from panic attacks for so long, because I didn't get that. I thought, like I mentioned before, like not working 47 hours a day, cool, you're not hustling hard enough, bro. Like that toxic hustle mindset. And that served me a lot until it didn't, right? And what's interesting is it still serves me, but I have to reel it back in a lot. So what I would say is there are a lot of different practices. Luis, we might have talked about this on Content Bites. My favorite is something called the Law of Three.
Yeah.
And I think the training I sent you guys, I would say that, and I'll send you guys that link again to really
100%.
dive into it. But here's the gist for everybody listening. 90% of your results come from 30% of the actions that you're taking, right? So let's assume like a perfect world. And by the way, every single business owner here has on average 7 to 10 items on their list of things that are like their responsibility. If they don't do them, they don't get done. Everything explodes, like business gone, poof, right? So let's use those numbers. Let's assume a perfect world, 10 items on that list. We spend 10% of our time on each item. That means 70% of our calendar is actually only yielding 10% of our results. It's a pretty horrible system, right? But here's what gets exciting. And this is what we illustrate. I get like a whiteboard. I literally, dude, during like the COVID situation, I went to Staples and bought like a whiteboard easel just to do this video.
Love
so
it.
please freaking watch it because I think it's really valuable.
So we're actually going to leave the link right in the description. So if you're watching, if you're listening now, go ahead and check it out for sure.
And basically thank you for that. And basically what it shows is, well, cool. If we can get rid of that 70%, we know the 30% driving results, right? So let's maybe we just want to double our work effort, right? That's 60%, and not in volume, but just in terms of like focused effort. That's 60% of our calendar. We still have 40% off, but we're at what, 180% of the results. Mm-hmm. Then you want to double it again. Cool. Now we're at 90% of our calendar, still 10% less in terms of quantity worked, but you're at 270% of the result. It's scaled fast. So to reel it back into your question, Luis, I would say do an exercise like this. This is the one that always worked well for me. There's a great book called Eat the Frog by Brian Tracy. Every chapter is another one of these exercises. Yeah. This is the one I always just liked because I'm a numbers guy, like I'm a data nerd. So I needed to see these things, and it's worked really well for myself and all my clients. But do something like that where you can figure out, cool, these are the small subset of actions that actually drive results. And by the way, the results you're looking for at that stage is sales, because sales is the lifeblood of any business. If you can't sell, you can't serve, which is a really unfortunate place to be as a coach, right? Because we get into this business because we want to serve and we want to help people. We got to sell before we can get there. Because when people pay, they pay attention, and the impact goes through the roof. And that's where I would start. Figure out what drives the needle. Yeah. Then we could start to scale those actions so you can get faster results.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and kind of to go off my brother's question here before, I feel like people that start to get into it before, walking the talk, if you want to say it that way, is that you get that imposter syndrome, like, huge, because you're like, oh, I'm trying to teach these, but I haven't done it. And I don't know, I feel like that's the beginning of a downhill journey. Yeah. But that being said, I love what that 90-30 rule you did share it at Content Bites, and it's absolutely amazing. You recommended that book as well, so I recommend everybody to get that book as well. We are definitely gonna get it ourselves. But I'm curious, because I've been, and this is talking from a personal experience. We've been at moments where I know that I need to do these certain activities to, move the needle forward. And those are like the most difficult ones to make, in a sense of, I think me internally, like taking action on those. Like, why am I self-sabotaging myself and picking a different task instead of the ones that I know are going to move the needle forward?
Because it's difficult, dude. Like, our brain has one purpose. And that's really, like, we have a 2,000-year-old brain. Its entire focus is to keep us safe. Here's why that sucks for entrepreneurs. It was great back in the day when you had to worry about like a saber-toothed tiger around the corner. But I haven't seen any lately, so I don't think we need to worry about that. Why it sucks for an entrepreneur is because by that definition, we're trying to create something that doesn't exist, right? That means we're trying to do something other than the norm, right? And in order to create anything bigger, in order to create anything outside of that norm, we have to get uncomfortable. Yeah. Discomfort is not what our brain is wired to keep us moving towards, right? So like that in its very nature, we're up against the wall.
Yeah.
But once we know that, we can start to make some different decisions, right? Our lives are sculpted by the decisions that we make. Yeah. So I would say, one, because I've been there and I'm there in my business in my own ways and like certain action items, and there are certain that I've been working through for the last couple months, and the results are insane, right? When we can get really focused on what we're resisting and then chunk it down into a consumable action item, then everything really, really changes, right? So here's what I would say. One, get super focused and very, very clear on what the actions are that you're trying to avoid. Two, figure out what you can reduce that to, right? Whether you, I first learned this concept of reducing it to the ridiculous by John Assaraf, who wrote Inner Size, who wrote The Answer, really, really successful guy. And then I just recently learned it from Jim Quick, who calls it small, simple steps. He just had a book called Limitless come out.
Yeah.
Jim is super intelligent.
Yeah.
But it's the same concept, right? Like when we want to build a habit, the most important, this is exactly what John said. He said, the most important thing is not the quantity, the volume, or the intensity with which you do the thing being the habit we're trying to build. The most important thing is doing the thing.
Yeah.
So we reduce it to the ridiculous. So we, maybe that's just step inside the gym from a health and fitness perspective, or maybe you're doing organic outreach, trying to generate leads. Maybe that's just starting one conversation a day, or maybe you're in door-to-door sales. It's get out and knock one door, right? Reduce it to the ridiculous, because that quantity, that intensity, that volume, that's going to come with time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to build the habit around doing the thing.
I love it.
So get clear on what it is that you're resisting. Find as small as you can chunk it down to an action item that is consumable, and then build some structure around that in a very consumable amount and overload it with time. That's what we do with all of our clients. And where we start on that reduce it to the ridiculous scale, it differs based on how much resistance there is.
Yeah.
But that's where you start.
Dude, sorry, Leonel, I love that because I'm reading this book too. It's called Tiny Habits. You read it? So
no, but I've heard like everyone talking about. Is it Mini Habits?
No, Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. That his name. He's
different book. Then.
Yeah, I think he's a professor. Yeah, from Stanford. And honestly, is very similar to what you were explaining right now, which is take the small steps. And one example that he gives in the book that I absolutely love, and I say it all the time, is you just need to look at people that set their goals in New Year to see how having those, like, going massive doesn't work. It's like, oh, I'm going to lose like 30 pounds in 1 month. And then they go like, maybe the first week they hit the gym every single day, and then they stop forever and they just end up like gaining weight, right? Instead, he's like, start small, like put your shoes on and step out of the house and then celebrate that, right? Like that's number one step. Once you're doing that consistently, then move on to the next step, right? Like maybe grab a dumbbell and do like, like 2 lifts, whatever, and then celebrate that and move on progressively. And one of the examples that he uses is himself with how do you call it?
Flossing.
Flossing your teeth, right? He's like, I started flossing only 1 tooth. That's it. And then eventually he built up until he does it now, all of his tooth twice a day. So it's like, oh man, like that is super interesting. It is starting small. And
I wanna can I do it?
Okay,
yes.
go.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going the same direction.
You see that's the issue of having a podcast with 2 people, man. I'm like, no, we both want to talk and stuff. So many ideas.
Go away. Okay. I just want to like really back a little bit to the content side, right? Because I mean, business obviously interlined with the content that you do. Because if you don't do the content, you don't promote yourself, then what happens to your business? You die, right? It's literally, it's part of the sale. You talked earlier about, if you don't sell your business, that's it. We see content and the marketing that you do as part of that sale. It's not something different. It is that it. And on touching on building that habit, right? That's exactly what we've been sharing before with the 45 Live, right? We had this massive idea. Hey, we wanna produce like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, all these massive content machines, right? Because we knew that was the way, either paid, organic, whatever it was. But over a year, 2 years, nothing happened because it was so big. It was so massive. So, you know, you talk about removing the friction, you call it something different, but it's the resistance, right? It's like remove it, identify those factors. So I love that we're speaking the same language. And in our case for content, that was like editing or, you know, having 3 cameras like FONZI would love to have. But, you know, then, you know, we can't edit. So for us at the time, about a year now, it was about just going Facebook Live, right? And it's building that small habit of doing every single day for 5 minutes, right? And then after that, it evolved into repurposing a little bit of that live content and then evolving into the machine that we have now, which we produce about, you know, almost 200 pieces of content every month, which is crazy. But we couldn't never start at that point before removing that friction or the resistance, like you call it, in order to do that. So I love that you talk with your clients, talk with your students on the business side, because it's so needed, right? It's so needed. And you can really bring this element in every aspect of your life, which is wonderful.
Yeah. And you know something that I actually realized not too long ago, and it goes hand by hand with this of like starting with the tiny steps. Dude, every time we have something in our list that we don't get accomplished, it's like we chip away some of our own confidence on getting things done, dude. And then we feel defeated. So it has happened to me so many times. And again, I just recently kind of like, I was reflecting and I noticed that I'm like, dude, I'm just putting so much stuff that I'm not getting done. And I'm just finding myself in this place of defeat, literally, right? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to start small. I'm just going to do, today I'm just going to focus on like this small activity. And I was like, okay, I do it. Boom, check, celebrated, let's go. I accomplished my objective for the day. And like it started building up again, little by little. So for those listening, it's like, don't, like you said, you know, don't have all those amount of tasks in your list that you have to do. Or if you have a lot of stuff to do, hide a bunch and just pick like one that, again, they're going to move the needle forward and focus on that one. Because honestly, dude, that was huge. Like, I mean, my brother can attest to that. I had some things, you know, in the back burner there that I needed to do. And I was like, oh, no, resistance, you know, hey, resistance, my new best friend. And I wouldn't do him at all. And those days I was being unproductive because I wasn't I wasn't moving on to the next task either. I was just like stuck in there without doing anything.
Yeah. You get overwhelmed, man. Like, yeah. And it's so true. You know, I always talk about it in the reverse. You know, with our clients, we do something called win stacking, right? And just like you mentioned, whittle away. I love that you use that because or chip away. That's literally the same terminology I use, right? Like the perfect example is making your bed. You know, you look on the internet, there's articles on Forbes and Yahoo Finance and like all of these Disrupt and all these different areas about how making your bed is the most important skill set you need to develop to build a 7-figure business, right? And I don't know about you guys, but like I mean, I'm human, right? But for the most part, I make my bed pretty much every day, other than maybe some vacations and when like I'm not sleeping at home or whatever, but like pretty much every day. I'll tell you what, I check my bank account every day too, and it has never put $1 in it. Not once, right? Making your bed doesn't build a 7-figure business, but here's what it does. It's the importance of routines. It's a win that you stack early in the day. So maybe your routine looks like making your bed and then journaling and meditating and maybe having a green drink, doing some stretching. Dude, that's 5 wins before you've even left your bedroom in the morning. So what happens when you stack your wins is because that's what yields self-confidence, right? It's doing what we say we're going to do over and over and over and over again. Just like it is when you reduce it to the ridiculous and you start to build that momentum.
Yeah.
But to your point, Luis, like as soon as you leave things on that list that don't get done, chip right back away at it. Right? So this is the game that we're playing. It's important to understand both sides of it, the push and the pull, because both will inevitably happen, but we need to know how to kind of build it back up, moving in our favor.
Yeah. Dude, about the win stacking, and I'm sure my brother's thinking the same thing right now. So the first time we heard about that was with Tony Robbins. So I have not, disclaimer, I have not read any of Tony Robbins' books. I have obviously consumed some of his content, but I guess we were lucky enough to
see him live.
To see him live at this event this last January. And one of the exercises he did was wind stacking, right? Dude, I'm not kidding. My brother and I were like right next to each other, just like hugging each other, crying. Dude, because so like
Very
it made me
powerful.
realize how often we just look at the negative side of things, like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, right? Instead of like, oh, I celebrate these little wins, right? The wing stacking that you're saying, and it changes your mood immediately. Like literally right now, I can start thinking on like all those little wins that I have accomplished today, and it'll bring a smile to my face, and it'll change my energy immediately, and it's gonna push me forward throughout the rest of the day. But I don't know why we're not conscious about that. We just decide to focus on the negative side.
Well, because one, like we're far more easily wired towards negative. I think 5 to 7 times more easily wired by negative than positive. So that again, like sets us up against the odds right there. But two, like, do we live in an achiever mindset, an achiever like culture where we need to like do more, be more, and have more? And it's not uncommon. Like we hear it all the time. People hit these targets and then they feel empty in their inside, and they're like, what the hell? Like, this is what I've been working towards for 17 years. Why do I feel miserable right now? It's like, because you couldn't be grateful for the moments when you didn't have it. And now you've hit it and you thought it was about a target, but really it's been about who you become. And you missed that whole piece. You didn't acknowledge any of it. Right. And it's great to have these big goals and crazy expectations. That was me. That was why I struggled the way that I struggled in my early 20s. But dude, there's like, think about it this way. This is one of my coaches explained it to me this way. Let's use the New Year's resolution example, right? Like your annual goal, call it whatever the hell you want to do. As long as you're not part of the 13% that, or like the 97% that fail. Right. How many times do you hit that goal?
I mean, short.
Personally, 0, because, well, first off, I don't think I've ever had a New Year's resolution because of that reason. Because like,
but let's say that you do hit the goal, right? How many times do you hit it?
Once a year.
Yeah, once.
So you're telling me that you're only allowed to be fulfilled once out of the entire year's worth of work.
Damn. That's.
Hold on.
Whew.
Wait.
Dude, that's so intense. Yes.
Gong moment followed by this. Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Dude, you guys have a gong? This is amazing. This is so cool.
That was so worth it, though. It is because you earned the gong. I mean, not a lot of people earn the gong.
I love it. Well, shout out to my buddy Xander Fryer, because he was the first person I ever heard say that. But it's so true, right? And that is why we celebrate wins along the way. Right. And that doesn't mean go throw yourself a freaking a freaking party because you sent 3 DMs. But maybe your target is sending 5, or here's a good example. I wanted to get better about a specific way that I wanted to time block. Right. And I needed to set a target. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me, knowing that if I meticulously mapped my time, because I was doing really well with it, but I wanted to take it to the next level, right? If I did it for 4 weeks straight, I gave myself the opportunity to, rent a boat up in Lake George with my girlfriend and some friends, right? Like, not a massive, buying myself a car for mapping my time out, but it was like a couple $100 to rent a boat. And we're doing that in a couple weeks now. Little things like that. And dude, it can be as simple as, cool, you did what you said you're going to do. Maybe next week you earned yourself that overpriced cup of coffee that you enjoy, but you probably shouldn't have every day because it's like $7.
Well, thank you, Mike, for telling that to Fonzie here. That's why he does it. Yeah, the bank account, man. Every time I see it, it's coffee. Okay.
Yeah, but dude, it's important to have these these celebrations.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate along the way. It's
Total-
so important. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, totally agree, man. And I think that's one of the things that we love the most about our morning meetings with our team. You know, they're scattered all over the place. And that's like one of the main things that we do over, like, even before we look at numbers, before we look at the operations, like, hey guys, what are you thankful for today? What happens? Tell us some wins. And it doesn't have to be related to the job. It has to be related to anything. So we talk about family, we talk about different things that happen during the weekend, you know, whatever. But it's like, let's get the mindset ready to go by win stacking as a group. And I love that, you know, that you call it the same way that we experienced it, because that was very, very powerful. And I think that's why we do it. And, you know, at the beginning, it's like, oh my gosh, is the team going to actually do this every single day? And now that's probably also one of the favorite parts of the whole team, because it sets the mind rolling. And, you know, it's like making the bed every morning that we do this with the team, which is every single day. So I love that. So here's one of the last questions. I know we need to like start landing this plane. That's my thing now.
Yeah,
we land the
that's
plane.
thing.
That's a new thing.
If I'm being honest here in front of everybody, I don't know how I feel about landing the plane, man.
It's okay. You audience, you can tell us how do we
I
call
wanna keep
the
flying.
end. I know we gotta keep flying, but it's okay. You know, Mike. Maybe we can convince you to stay with us a little bit longer. But you know, that's the whole plan.
Let's do it.
Maybe like, what are some like cool action points for somebody to kind of get started on this, right? And I'm gonna throw a little curveball there. You talk about, you know, the schedule, my time blocking, and a lot of people might think, or maybe I don't know, I'm wrong, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Those are so like small, like so insignificant. I should be worrying about the big things, right? I should be worrying about like all these crazy things that are happening, and my calendar doesn't really matter, right? So what are some things like well, first off, what would you say to that person? And second, what are some things that we can start doing now to make sure that we're win stacking?
Dude, I'm excited for this.
So
I would challenge that with like every fiber of my being. One of my good friends and early mentors told me, show me your calendar, I'll show you your paycheck. Right. And, you know, I think that one thing, here is the best that I've ever heard it put by my good friend, Ricky Mendez. He was speaking to our mastermind last December, I want to say. And he shared something really powerful. He said, everybody thinks the universe rewards scale, but it doesn't. The universe rewards consistency, right? So those seemingly little things, those lead up to the big things. And if you don't do the little things, you never get to the big things. It's like, if we're going to use the example of win stacking, right? Like, dude, we can't get up here until we've stacked all the way up. And those are the little things. For anyone not watching the video, that was a little difficult to understand.
You can go watch it. You know where the link is, at BIZBROS on Facebook. Yeah, you can let us know on the DMs too.
but that's where I would go with that. Like, those little things lead to the big things. And the reason, here's the deal. When we talk about high performance, which by the way, I don't think I ever defined, that just means succeeding beyond standard norms consistently over the long term while maintaining positive well-being and positive relationships. Okay. So when we talk about high performance and you look at some of the biggest studies, like Brendon Burchard's book, High Performance Habits, some of these big studies around the world of high performers, these habits, first of all, they're all trainable. They're all malleable. They're not things that we're born with. They're not like age, gender, sexual orientation, like location of the world, all of these things. None of them are strongly correlated with high performance. Now, it doesn't mean they don't play a role, but it means that they're not strongly correlated. Here's why that's powerful. Those are the things that we don't control. So that means that we're back in the driver's seat. Everything we want to do, we can train. All of these habits that yield high performance are trainable. And here's the other thing. They're not difficult. High performers just do them more consistently and more frequently, right? Because common sense is not always common practice. And people think, oh, like, yeah, I've done that, but they haven't. They've spent time thinking about it, like while they're on the subway and there's a million other things going on and the thought like glanced away for a second. Like you didn't spend the time there. So that's what I would say. You need to be doing it.
Bro,
I don't remember the other question.
That was so awesome. I'm so excited here, dude. Yes, absolutely. You know, because again, going back to our story, we relate so much because The moment we started seeing results was when we started, being consistent, publishing or 45 live, right? Which was the challenge that we came up with of going 45 days in a row live on Facebook. And that's when we started seeing results. Before, we were just jumping from shiny object to shiny object, and we weren't seeing any results. We were stressed out.
A lot of shine.
Yeah, a lot of shiny stuff around, and we were just like, what is the next big thing, right? And it's what you're talking, is that compounding effect of doing those things consistently and frequently, and you're gonna get to see results. But going back to the hustle culture that you mentioned, Brad, we just want things quick. Like, we live in a society where,
instant gratification.
Yeah, we just go to Chick-fil-A and we just get our food real quick, right? So now we want everything quick. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Chick-fil-A milkshake. Probably not the healthiest, guys, but it's okay. And you don't want to be near me when I have a Chick-fil-A milkshake either, but it's okay. That's a topic
I
for
go
another
work
day.
remotely whenever he eats the milkshake.
Yeah, but it's that, like, we are so focused on getting things fast, right? And you just have to see some of these copywriting headlines in some of these people's courses that is like, yeah, get this fast, get this in 2 days, 5 days, right? It's like, no, it takes probably a big amount of days of consistent and frequent work, right? I mean, yours is 60 days. Most people don't get to do 60 things. Most people don't get to do this consistently for 60 days, right? And I'm sure the people that are working with you, that's one of the first concepts they're going to grasp is, okay, I need to do this certain stuff consistently all these days so I can produce results.
Dude, it's everything. Like, the fact is, for at least the first 2 to 3 weeks that our clients are working with us, we're not doing crazy numbers, right? We're building that foundation and stacking wins. There's an important piece to that. But nowadays we live in a clickbait culture where there needs to be shock value, and especially with what's going on in the world right now, you see that in mainstream media.
Oh man,
and it's unfortunate, but it's
dude,
it's the reality of where we're at, I guess.
This is how I see it.
Wait, before you say that, real quick, my turn to cut you off, dude. I love what you said about mainstream media, because we work, we have our office at this co-working space. And I step out to the office, and in the lobby, they have this TV with the news. And I go to put some water, I look at the TV, and then I come back into the office, and this is the exact comment that I told my brother. I'm like, dude, how sad would it be to live every single day looking at the news? Because the headline was horrible, man. And I was like, there's people that actually watch that every single day of their lives, like... So then, I mean, your expectations of the world just, I don't know. I don't even know how to put it. Like, they just become, I don't know, a dark place.
This is how I see it. And I think, we can make full circle with what you were saying at the very beginning, Mike. It's, if you are consistent, right, you're going to separate from the rest, because most people, that's where they're going to be. So if you want to be the high performance, like you mentioned earlier, just by doing the simple things, start consistent, start small, you're already going to be way far ahead than whatever you consider your competition.
Farther.
Yeah. Where is that further? Yeah, way too far. Hold on. Let's say it so ugly. Way too far ahead. Okay, so people remember. That way people can remember. But they can be like further away and further forward, or further, whatever. You call it however you want it to call. I don't care. You're going to be so much better. So consistency is the key, is what we got to do every single day. So Mike, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, that was amazing.
It was a complete honor to have you. Any resources that you want to share with the audience, we're happy to take it. We're going to link them right below. Yep. So we're going to connect them with you. One last question here. We know that you publish. Where will you be without publishing consistently, may I add?
It's really, really difficult to say. I think that, one, your content attracts. Two, when you're doing like collaborative content, like a podcast, and you're connecting with people, like brand equity builds. And there's a lot to be said for that as well. And, I don't even know how to quantify that. Like, I don't think I would have a business. And I'll go as far as to say, without it, I probably never would have realized I wanted to build a business, because someone else wouldn't have published, and I wouldn't have gotten in touch with their content that helped me shift some thinking paradigms. Wow. So, like we'll get even further than the seed being planted. Like it's almost impossible to quantify.
Wow.
That has been one of the most powerful answers that we've heard on the show. Honestly, like, so we appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
you.
That's also the reason why we're doing this. We, highly encourage you guys. We're gonna link everything Mike right below. Go check him out. For me, that was the first time I've chatted with you, man. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
There's so much stuff.
For me, it has
so
been
much
the
gold.
second time, and I hope it's not the last one, man.
I know. Not we're part of you're part of the Content is Profit family, man. So officially welcome. Where can
thank you guys for having me.
Of course, man. Where can people find you?
Yeah, the best place is honestly the podcast. So if you want to dig deeper into anything we talked about, high performance related, we do 2 interviews a week. One on Monday, one on Wednesday, and then Friday is a bite-sized like action item solo episode where it's like,
nice.
Hey, do this and work towards these results. So we're putting up 3 times a week, and I think
awesome.
we're creeping up on episode 100 soon. So
yes.
That's the best place. Just the Results Engine podcast, and then I'm also just at Mike Szczesniak on Instagram. And if you have questions or want to challenge anything, feel free to slide in the DMs and get those questions answered.
That's awesome, man, dude. I love first consistency. Congrats on the 100th episode coming soon.
Thank you.
And I love the fact that you're like, if you want to challenge anything, send me a DM.
Let's go.
I love that. And guys, if you want to challenge anything, send me a DM too.
Yeah.
I'm down for the challenge.
Fonzie wants to fight. Yeah, let's go.
Dude, but really quickly though, that's important, and I think that we don't have that in culture anymore. I think that we're so divided, especially in the US, that it's like, if you don't agree with me, you're a bad person.
Absolutely.
And that's not the case. Like, you don't have your belief because you're a bad person. You have your belief because something led to that belief structure.
Exactly.
And it's important to have those dialogues, because then you can actually build your own thoughts instead of just being fed what you were fed and assuming that you have to believe it. So,
dude, I love it.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important.
That's
such
so powerful.
a powerful thought to end the show, guys.
Yeah.
And Mike, we need you for like 2 more minutes. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at BIZBROS.
And if you find this episode impactful, that was rough. If you find this episode impactful, don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye.